The call came on December 1st the way it always did. Mom's voice, bright and brittle like tinsel pulled too tight. "Sweetheart, this year we're doing a small Christmas. Just the immediate family. Richard's children are still adjusting, and 4 extra people is a lot." 4 extra people. That would be me, my husband Jonas, and our 2 daughters ages 6 and 8. The same 4 people who had flown in every December for the last 12 years, who slept on air mattresses in the basement, who brought gifts that filled half the tree and left with leftovers in Tupperware. I pressed the phone to my ear and watched snow stick to the kitchen window of the house Jonas and I had bought with cash 3 years ago. A house with 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and a mortgage balance of exactly 0. "Mom," I said carefully, "we've never missed a Christmas." "I know, honey. But Richard says the girls are too loud, and his mother is 92 now. She gets overwhelmed." Richard. The man she married 6 months after Dad died, the one who called my kids those children, and complained about the cost of feeding us. The man whose name was on the mortgage I had quietly paid for the last 9 years. I closed my eyes. "I understand," I told her. "Merry Christmas." I hung up before she heard anything crack. Jonas found me 20 minutes later sitting on the floor surrounded by the girls' crayon drawings of last year's tree. He didn't ask questions. He simply knelt and wrapped his arms around me until I could breathe again. That night I opened the folder I hadn't touched since Dad's funeral. The one labeled Mom and Richard House. Inside were bank statements, autopay confirmations, every receipt for the $2,847 I sent every month so they could keep the 5-bedroom colonial Dad had built with his own hands in 1987. The house where I learned to ride a bike in the driveway, where Dad taught me to change my own oil, where Mom used to hang my school artwork on the fridge like it was museum-worthy. Dad's life insurance had paid off their old mortgage. When he died, Mom panicked about money. Richard, then just her friend from church, convinced her to take out a new, bigger loan for renovations, a chef's kitchen she never used, a 3-car garage for his BMW. I was 26, newly married, terrified my mother would lose the only home I'd ever known. So I offered to cover the payments. "Just until they got on their feet," I said. They never got on their feet. 9 years later, my name wasn't on the deed, but my money kept the lights on. I stared at the latest statement. Balance remaining $312,604.12. I logged into the bank and canceled the recurring transfer. Then I blocked Mom's number, Richard's number, and the landline I still had memorized from childhood. Christmas came and went in our own house for the first time. We cut a real tree that touched the ceiling. The girls hung ornaments we'd collected since they were babies. Jonas cooked prime rib and played Bing Crosby until the neighbors complained. On Christmas Eve we drove through the fancy neighborhoods with cocoa and counted lights. My daughters never once asked why we weren't flying to Grandma's. January 3rd, the first text arrived from an unknown number. "Lena, the mortgage is 34 days late. Call me. We're scared." I did not call. January 17th. Richard lost his job. The bank sent a letter. "Please, honey. We have nowhere to go." February 14th, Valentine's Day. "Because cruelty has a sense of humor. They're starting foreclosure. This is your father's house. How can you do this?" I printed every message, put them in a red envelope, and mailed it to the address I still knew by heart. No note. Just proof that I'd seen them begging. March brought the auction notice. I received it because the bank still had me listed as a financial contact. Sale date, April 28th. Minimum bid, $289,000. Less than they owed, far less than it was worth. I booked a flight. On the day of the auction I wore the black dress I'd worn to Dad's funeral. I sat in the back row of the county courthouse and watched Richard pace in a suit that no longer fit. Mom had stayed home, too ashamed, he muttered to the realtor. When the auctioneer called the property, I raised my paddle first. $290. A developer bid $295. I went $300. He went $310. I didn't blink. $350, I said, loud enough for Richard to hear my voice. His head snapped around. The color drained from his face when he recognized me. The developer hesitated, then shook his head. Sold. To the woman in the back row whose childhood bedroom had just been priced like a used car. Richard stumbled toward me as people filed out. Lena, thank God. You saved us. We'll pay you back, I swear. I looked at him the way you look at a stranger who's asked for money on the subway. The house belongs to me now, I said. You have 30 days to leave. Mom was waiting on the front porch when the moving truck arrived, the same porch where Dad used to sit with me on summer nights counting fireflies. She looked 20 years older than the last time I'd seen her. When she saw me climb out of the rental car, she started crying. I'm sorry, she kept saying over and over like a broken record. We didn't mean to hurt you. We just needed. You needed, I corrected gently. A daughter who would pay forever and never be invited to Christmas. I walked past her into the house that smelled exactly the same, lemon polish and old books. My daughter's heights were still marked on the pantry door in Dad's careful pencil. I ran my fingers over the lines, then turned to the movers. Everything stays, I told them. Furniture, photos, the ugly rooster wallpaper in the kitchen. It's mine now. Richard tried once more in the driveway, voice cracking. Where are we supposed to go? I thought of the studio apartment they could afford on his unemployment and her part-time job at the craft store. I thought of the air mattress in the basement where my family had slept so Richard's mother wouldn't be overwhelmed. I'm sure you'll figure it out, I said. You always do. That summer we moved in. I painted my old bedroom the soft gray the girls picked out. Jonas hung a swing from the same oak tree Dad had used. We hosted 4th of July with fireworks that lit up the cul-de-sac. And every neighbor brought a dish because they remembered when this was the house that always had its porch light on. Mom sent letters I never opened. Richard's car was repossessed. Eventually the forwarding address led to a tired apartment complex off the highway. I drove past once just to see. The balcony held 2 plastic chairs and a dying geranium. Sometimes, late at night, I walked the hallway and touched the pencil marks on the pantry door. I whispered to the house the way Dad used to whisper to me. You were never theirs to lose. You were always mine to come home to. And every Christmas Eve, when the tree lights glow and my daughters sing off-key carols, I hang one extra ornament, a tiny porcelain house with a red door. On the back, in my father's handwriting from years ago, it says, For Lena, so you'll always have a place. I never needed their welcome. I just stopped paying for the privilege of being turned away.